After a saga that lasted a month, he's finally free from Wisconsin and he's headed down to the 305. Xavier Lucas, welcome to the U.
You are Locked On Canes, your daily podcast on the Miami Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And until the details just came out on Friday, I had no idea just how complicated this love triangle was between Wisconsin, Xavier Lucas, and Miami, because his lawyer, Darren Heitner, who pulled off some of the best lawyering I've ever seen in real life. Like, this is the sort of stuff that you're used to seeing on Suits or for the older crowd out there on Perry Mason. Xavier Lucas's lawyer was able to find an absolute masterpiece of a loophole to get him out of Wisconsin and to Miami, despite the fact that Wisconsin never actually submitted him into the transfer portal, which by NCAA rules they were required to do. Lucas requested the transfer, filled out his paperwork. They never put him in the portal, and yet he and his lawyer found a legal way to get him out of Wisconsin. This is some of the most compelling stuff that I've ever come across, and Darren Heitner has been on this show before. We're going to try to make that happen again in the near future because we have to talk about this. By the way, I am Alex Donno. Happy Friday. We made it. University of Miami alumnus, co-host of Locked On ACC, and writer for Canes County at Rivals. And thank you so much to the everydayers for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. We'll talk about what Xavier Lucas, who's a dynamic player, formerly from American Heritage, spent his first season at Wisconsin, heading into his second year. We'll talk about what he's going to bring to Miami on the field, but for now, the off-field stuff is way more compelling. So this saga, it started a month ago, where Xavier Lucas, he publicly stated he was entering the transfer portal, leaving Wisconsin. He, did his end of the paperwork, filled out his transfer request, and then by NCAA rules, the school that you're trying to transfer from is required, despite what the extenuating circumstances you feel might be, you're required to put that player in the transfer portal. But Wisconsin refused to do that and never actually put him in the transfer portal because of what they felt was an extenuating circumstance, where essentially they tried to punish him, for what turned out to be a revenue sharing contract that he signed. And that's why this thing is more complicated than I thought, folks, because I had thought that it was over, like a standard NIL deal with a collective. This is over. I guess they're now doing revenue sharing contracts in Big Ten schools, even though revenue sharing is not officially a thing just yet. So, by the way, not only we'll talk about what Darren Heitner had to say in truly some great journalism by Matt Shodell at CaneSport, who talked to Heitner and put his comments together and just explained how this saga played out. There was also a piece that probably many of you have seen, if not read. Do we still read? I hope you guys still read, because I do. If you've read this report from Ross Dellinger at Yahoo Sports, I'm going to read some quotes from Dellinger's story and then give you my thoughts on it. Now, I've got to read some of this because a lot of this legalese, it's too complicated for me to explain in my own words. So I will allow Dellinger's words to help me on that a little bit. He writes, former Wisconsin defensive back Xavier Lucas, who UW refused to enter into the portal after he requested a transfer, is leaving the school for Miami. His attorney, Darren Heitner, told Yahoo Sports on Wednesday. Dellinger refers to it as a groundbreaking move that may have significant ramifications. The situation is poised to set a precedent, he says, both in the ability for schools to enforce revenue sharing agreements that are contingent on the House settlement's passage, and perhaps more importantly, for players to transfer at any time, even outside the portal windows or without entering the portal at all. Lucas, the freshman this past season, withdrew from classes at Wisconsin and enrolled academically at Miami. By not formally signing with Miami, he presumably skirts any NCAA transfer rules. He enrolled for the fall 2025 semester, but is expected to be reclassified to spring 2025. So I think the expectation is that Lucas is going to be able to start classes on or before the 22nd of January, which is the absolute drop dead date to start classes at Miami to be enrolled and matriculated in the spring semester. So it seems as though now that it's official, he's leaving Wisconsin, that he's going to be able to enroll in Miami in time. Let me continue from the Yahoo Sports report, and then I'll give you my context from it. NCAA rules. Hold on. The move for now avoids illegal filing, Dellinger writes. Heitner had planned to file a suit against both the NCAA and Wisconsin over antitrust claims related to the situation, accusing Wisconsin of blatantly violating NCAA rules by not inserting Lucas' name into the portal as he requested and questioning the legality of the NCAA's transfer portal. Wisconsin officials have remained quiet on the situation. However, the school is declining to enter Lucas into the portal as he signed a 2-year revenue sharing agreement last month before requesting a transfer. The agreement, a Big Ten issued template form, binds Lucas and all players who sign to that specific school and grants that school players non-exclusive rights to use and market their name, image, and likeness. The agreement prohibits the player's rights to be used by any other school while permitting him or her to sign outside marketing agreements, according to those familiar with the template. Here's a couple problems that I have with that. First of all, and Darren Heitner has also pointed this out. So this is these documents and revenue sharing agreements. I don't know how these can be legally binding from where I sit because, folks, the House settlement, I know it's expected to pass, but it's not officially passed, and it's not going to pass for another 3 months if it does pass. So I don't know how in the meantime you can use that as ground, a revenue sharing agreement for a law that's not actually, or a bill that's not actually passed yet. I don't know how you can legally hold that up when it's essentially a hypothetical agreement. So that's one issue here, that Wisconsin was going to hold that over his head, even though revenue sharing is not officially a thing yet. Another part of it is, and this is interesting, that Dellinger noted this. So Lucas, he requested a transfer from Wisconsin after learning while home over the holidays that his father suffered a serious life-threatening illness, according to Heitner. The school has refused to follow NCAA protocol requiring institutions to comply with a player's transfer request by submitting his or her name into the portal within 2 business days. So that seems pretty cold on Wisconsin's part, that they're going to make a point as a matter of principle. You want to go closer to home, closer to family, because Lucas, of course, is from South Florida, played his high school ball at American Heritage, and Wisconsin was still not approving that. So it gets crazier, folks, as to how Heitner, the lawyer for Lucas, because again, he hired Lucas hired Heitner, I think around 10, 11 days ago. The Saga, as I mentioned, has been going on for a month. So prior to Heitner coming on board, they were basically, Lucas and his team were running into the same brick wall over and over and over again, that they had requested to enter the portal. Wisconsin refused to enter him and gave no reason and no real communication as to why they were refusing to do that. So how did this loophole come about? We'll talk about it, guys, because this is getting juicier, and we are only getting started right here on this brand new episode of Locked On Canes. You want to keep it locked. I already know you're keeping it locked to Prizepicks. Guys, I've been playing Prizepicks since 2021. It really is the best. Prizepicks is the place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions in winnings, Prizepicks has changed the game in daily fantasy sports. Whether it's the playoffs or the regular season, Prizepicks has made it easier than ever to win big while enjoying all the football action. Now it's playoff time, and there's no better way to get in on the action than Prizepicks. Here's how it works. You simply pick more or less on at least 2 players, their stat projections, and if your picks hit, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. That's right. up to 1,000 times your money just by making a few simple picks. For me, it's all about the hot takes this season. This week on Prizepicks, we're looking at Lamar Jackson for more than 250 passing yards and Travis Kelce for more than 70 receiving yards. It's fun to predict and easy to play. Plus, with Prizepicks Flex Play, you can still double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. And with the app, you get your winnings fast, sometimes in as little as 15 minutes. Ready to run your game this football season? Download the Prizepicks app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege. All one word, Locked On College, to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's right, $50 just for playing. Don't wait. Take your game to the next level with Prizepicks. Run your game. Thank you for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today. For your next listen, make sure you check out Locked On ACC. Kenton Gibbs and I take you I'm getting tongue-tied here on a Friday night, all the big storylines in the Atlantic Coast Conference, football, basketball, and otherwise. Like this show, it's available free on YouTube, and it's free wherever you get your podcasts. So, as good as the Yahoo Sports report by Ross Dellinger, which kind of explains things on the surface level, I thought the best piece of journalism to come out of this was actually by Matt Shodell at Kane Sport, who spoke with Darren Heitner. So again, folks, if you're just joining us, Xavier Lucas he's officially leaving the Wisconsin Badgers after 1 year up there. And he's enrolling at the University of Miami, and he's joining the Miami Hurricanes, despite the fact that Xavier Lucas was never officially in the transfer portal. So how is he able to legally leave UW for the U without actually hitting the portal? Here's how it happened. Part of Shodell's report, he writes, inspiration struck. Darren Heitner, who's the lawyer for Lucas, has studied the NCAA bylaws the way some might study their Bible. And he found a loophole, a small one, but one that was just big enough to squeeze the 6'2", 198-pound Lucas through. Quote, this is from Heitner. If you go outside of the transfer portal, there's a bylaw, 13.1.1.4.4. And based on that bylaw, I mean, nobody reads the fine print. Well, lawyers, good ones, actually do read the fine print that the rest of us don't read, he said. There's nothing, he says, according to that bylaw that prevents Lucas from withdrawing from Wisconsin and going to another school, Heitner said. So we had to be super cautious per the rules of the bylaw through this process and couldn't communicate with the University of Miami in terms of his determination to enroll. This was a covert operation. He says the workaround is we just didn't communicate. There was no communication between him and Miami. He just independently decided to go there. That's how you avoid the tampering part of it, of course. He says the simplistic way to explain it is he unenrolled from Wisconsin by way of removing his spring courses prior to the start of their spring semester, which in effect caused him to be unenrolled. At that point, there's nothing in the NCAA rules that precludes him from applying for and being admitted at any other school. And by the way, the NCAA confirmed this. The NCAA, a spokesperson, actually sent a statement to Ross Dellinger, if you go back to that Yahoo report, that confirmed the NCAA cannot stop you from unenrolling at one school and enrolling at another. Heitner continued, and because of that, Lucas decided to apply to the University of Miami, which is the school of his choice. And he was admitted for the fall and will be reclassified for the spring. Heitner also clarified that there is no rule that transferring outside the portal window for a non-graduate player would result in needing to sit out a year. He said, quote, they don't have to sit out. Prior to the transfer portal, you would have to sit out a year unless you were a grad student. They may change the rules again after this, he says, but the important thing is I received assurance after assurance from the NCAA at the point that we figured out this solution and there was not going to be punitive action on Xavier. That was my number one concern, he said. If I'm told by their own lawyers that this is okay, then we're going to proceed. So that's how Heitner dotted his I's and crossed his T's and made sure the NCAA wouldn't do anything about this. So now that Lucas is unenrolled from his Wisconsin spring classes and will start classes at by Tuesday, that's the 22nd, compete in spring ball. I guess Tuesday the 21st, I think, whatever. Competing in spring. Oh, because Monday, that's why. Monday they're off for Martin Luther King Day. So that's why Tuesday he would start. So he would start classes at by Tuesday, compete in spring ball, and play for the Hurricanes next season. He continues, if the NCAA wants to continue to be able to enforce its rules, Heitner said, it should take punitive action against Wisconsin for this because it really sought to hold him hostage, Heitner said. We found a solution literally within the minutes or hours before filing the lawsuit. I was ready, he said. And Heitner also says that Wisconsin never made it completely clear why the Badgers refused to put him in the portal, which is very frustrating, Heitner said. A lot of speculation, even pointing the finger at social media commentary about tampering, alleged tampering, and not even having any evidence to support whatever their position may be with regard to tampering. They alluded to a collective contract. I asked for it, never received it. Xavier tells me there is no collective contract right now. He hasn't been paid on one. I am aware of a revenue sharing agreement with their school that is contingent, as I said, on the House settlement finally being approved, he says, but no payment has been made to him on that either. So all these people online who are speculating that he had been paid money that he owes back to either the school or the collective are completely wrong, he says. So, wow. So, and folks, I appreciate the fact that writers like Dellinger and Shodell and being able to read the words of Heitner himself have really helped me wrap my head around this whole situation, because this is all very complicated, right? We've seen like how much transferring from one university to another, how much that's evolved over the past few years, right? It used to be you could only transfer one time, sit out a year, and then they started introducing waivers, and some guys found a way to transfer one time without sitting out a year. And then you had the transfer portal, and some players will transfer to one school in December and transfer somewhere else in April. And now we have actually found ways to transfer without actually entering the portal. I mean, this is absolutely nuts. And it seems as though there's nothing the NCAA can do about this, because this was done within their rules and their bylaws. And it also seems like there's really nothing Wisconsin can do about this. And so, we all have to wonder. I mean, is this gonna, for the Wisconsin side, is this gonna blow over for them? Are they gonna have a harder time recruiting in South Florida? Because of course, Xavier Lucas, American Heritage, one of the premier South Florida programs, one of the premier high school programs in the country. This is going to make it harder for Wisconsin to recruit the South Florida area, I believe. I also wonder, like, will Wisconsin be so petty about this? Are they going to try to pursue some kind of illegal action against Miami? Is this going to die off? Are they just going to let Lucas ride off into the sunset? But bottom line is, the young man, he's got family down here. He's got a father, and I'm praying for the family. A father who is ill, according to what Heitner had to say, and he wanted to enroll and play at Miami, and it seems extremely petty when you zoom out that Wisconsin would try to hold him hostage like that. So I'm happy Lucas gets to play down here, and we'll talk about what he brings to the table on the football field, because this is someone who's going to help Miami's defense. And we know the defensive secondary, which is getting a transformation, right? We've already added safety Zechariah Poyser through the transfer portal. We've already added 3 cornerbacks, Emmanuel Carnley, Charles Brantley, Ethan O'Connor. Now Lucas is going to be at Miami. He might very well push for a starting job. We'll talk about that and more. You want to keep it locked right here. We're not done yet on this brand new episode of Locked On Canes. We're certainly not done yet with FanDuel. Guys, from the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first bet. That's $300 to keep the action going. The FanDuel app is so easy to navigate, and the variety of bets keep every game exciting. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly. No waiting around for your winnings. Whether you're betting on your favorite team or just looking to add some extra excitement to the playoffs, FanDuel has you covered. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $300 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thank you for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today. By the way, if you'd like to bring your everydayer experience to the next level, sign up, click the link in the show description below, become a Locked On Canes insider. You get text messages directly from my phone to yours with breaking news, recruiting scoops, show updates, questions and answers. Try it free for 14 days. And then if you like it, you can opt in for $4.99 a month. We'll give you a lot of added value on there on the Locked On Canes Insiders chat. So Xavier Lucas, I'm happy that he's going to end up a Miami Hurricane, because those, like, one of my regrets from the 2024 recruiting cycle was when he was coming out of Heritage, felt like Miami got in on his recruitment a little bit later than they should have. And, Wisconsin had already built up that lead, prohibitive favorite, and Miami tried to make a late push. I think stuff like that, and obviously Miami's recruited really well for the past 3 years under Mario Cristobal. So, we can be nitpicky here. I think, being late on certain evals is probably why Mario Cristobal is reshuffling and revamping his personnel department. Why he goes and hires away a proven guy like Taylor Edwards, who was about to join Bill Belichick's staff at North Carolina. He brings Edwards to head up his recruiting department. Keiki Misipeka, he brings him in to be an important part of that front office staff as well. Dennis Smith is still on the staff doing his thing. We want to make it more of a professionally run NFL style scouting department at Miami, but all's well that ends well with Xavier Lucas, who's going to be a Miami Hurricane and, got to get quality experience in a season at Wisconsin. So he's going to come in with some seasoning. 6'2", 198 pounds, 3 years of eligibility left. So he's a long, big physical corner. Played 203 snaps for Wisconsin last year, which is quite a lot for a true freshman. He started one game there. That was against Nebraska at the end of the season. On the year, he finished with 18 tackles, an interception, 3 pass breakups. According to his PFF stats, he was targeted 19 times in coverage. He allowed 9 catches, only 9 for 47.4 completion rate, 127 yards, 1 touchdown given up. He had a tackle for loss and a half a sack to go with the 18 tackles that he made this past year. And I could very well see Xavier Lucas. There could be some competition there because, again, Miami has added some quality corners in the transfer portal already. O'Connor, Carnley, Brantley. I think Brantley could definitely play the nickel. That could end up being Brantley's starting job, the veteran out of Michigan State. But in terms of the outside corners, Miami returns O.J. Frederick from last year. Similarly to Xavier Lucas, Frederick got great experience as a true freshman. Frederick got even more experience as a freshman. Lucas played a lot last year, but Frederick started most of the games for Miami and, played very well. Not perfect. I mean, Syracuse did a good job against him, but O.J. Frederick looks like a real one. Like that dude looks like he's going to be a star at Miami. He's got 3 years of eligibility remaining. I could totally see Lucas. He's got to compete like everybody, but I could see Lucas end up starting opposite O.J. Frederick and really adding a punch to Miami's defense. And, I wrote a mailbag column today, and I wish I'd known that the Lucas thing could pop today before I wrote the mailbag column, but there was some good stuff in there. You can check it out at canescounty.com. And one of the questions that I got for the mailbag was, way too early. Yes, because we haven't even hit spring ball, but like, how would I project Miami's starting lineups for next year? So let's start with the defense. And so, obviously I wrote it differently in the column this morning because this was before, Lucas was able to get out of his Wisconsin situation. But I would now pencil in Xavier Lucas as a starting corner with O.J. Frederick being the other. I'll project Charles Brantley as the starting nickel. I will project Zechariah Poyser, who just transferred in from Jacksonville State, and Zaquan Patterson entering his second year as starting safeties here. I'd project, assuming, and let's just kind of assume a 4-2-5 for the purposes of making this lineup. So my 2 starting linebackers, Wesley Besant and Raul Popo Aguirre. My defensive linemen, Akeem Mesidor and Ruben Bain on the edges, Ahmad Moten and Justin Scott inside. So that's the way I project the starting defense. But guys, this is all subject to competition. This is also subject to potentially more transfers coming in the spring. So this is just my way too early predictions. A lot of this can change. Like, if we were to make way too early predictions for last year, I never would have thought O.J. Frederick would become basically a full-time starter as a true freshman. So there were certain things I would have gotten wrong about this a year ago, and I did get wrong about it a year ago on offense. Very easy to predict. Carson Beck is your starting quarterback. And something cool, if you guys have checked this out, Mel Kiper did a reaction with Field Yates about Carson Beck's decision to play another year of college. And Kiper was so complimentary of saying, like, this, he loves the idea of Carson Beck playing another season to raise his draft stock and playing that final season at Miami, which, of course, Cam Ward was able to raise his draft stock at Miami this past season. And by the way, a quick sidebar on Beck. I see something going around today. Travis Hunter reacted to it in a video. Apparently, Colin Cowherd talked about it on his show today. This allegation that Carson Beck is making $10 million in NIL, $10 million at Miami. I can pretty confidently say that's fake news. Not that I'm against guys making big NIL deals, but I think the Beck deal is, somewhere between 3 and 4 million. I don't know where people are getting the 10 million thing now from. Probably some Florida State fan, drinking too much and posting on X like, this guy's making 10 million at Miami. Oh, they're buying rosters. He's definitely not making 10 million. I mean, if he can find a way to squeeze 10 million, maybe some, other NIL deals that he's able to secure, God bless him. But I don't think that number is in any way accurate, just so you know. But yeah, Carson Beck, you can pencil him in as the starting quarterback. Mark Fletcher, starting running back. Tight end, probably Elijah Lofton, although it wouldn't surprise me if Alex Bauman, who just transferred in, if he gets some starts, and Lofton plays a lot. So I put an or between their names, Elijah Lofton or Alex Bauman. Wide receivers, I'm going to say CJ Daniels, JoJo Trader, and Ray Joseph in the slot. Receiver, though, is a position we're going to be watching because there's been a lot of rumors that, somebody may choose to join Carson Beck down here in the spring transfer portal. So we may have to reevaluate the receiver starters at a later date. Offensive linemen, I feel very good about Markel Bell at left tackle. Probably Matthew McCoy at left guard. James Brockermeyer at center, who transferred in. Inez Cooper at right guard. CeCe Maui Noah at right tackle. And I think that's a strong-looking hypothetical starting lineup. But really, I mean, the starting lineup can only take you so far. What I'm looking forward to seeing, when spring football begins and when you start to hear feedback on the workouts, because workouts are already, underway at Green Tree and in the weight room. So we're going to start to hear, the media can't cover any of that stuff. We're going to start to hear more feedback from the workouts because, yeah, you can have a nice-looking starting lineup, but in today's college football, you got to be 2 deep, 3 deep in some spots, to really get you over the hump. So I can't wait to find out who the dogs are and who's competing out there. And I'm very happy we can add Xavier Lucas to that roster. Welcome to the U, and what a saga. And God bless the Lucas family. And man, Darren Heitner, this, if you need to find a loophole, that's the guy you want on your legal team. I mean, see, like these legal shows that we watch. Did anybody watch Franklin and Bash? Neither did I. I didn't watch that, actually. But Suits, within the last couple of years, because I got started in that show late, but over like a year's time, I binge watched the entire series of Suits. This guy is what was it? Harvey Specter. This Darren Heitner, he's the real life Harvey Specter. It's crazy what this guy pulled off. So thank you guys so much for making Locked On Canes your first listen and your first watch today. Make sure you smash the like button and subscribe. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your pods. And we'll talk to you again next time on another episode of Locked On Canes. We're part of the awesome Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.